All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to the WTCF podcast. It's Charlie here hanging out and wanted to cover this week's intention. And maybe this is something that helps you. You must expect great things of yourself before you do it. It turns out it's a Michael Jordan quote. Huge Jordan fan, and at first didn't even realize that this was his quote. I kind of read it and just kind of thought of doing your best and visualizing your best. So when I first started thinking about it, it came to mind of if you want to be great, you must expect great things of yourself. If I expect things to go poorly, most likely they're going to go in that direction. So our thoughts in that scenario can be really, really helpful in guiding us. So there turns out there's also like a Henry Ford quote that's really close to it. Whether you think you can or you can't, that you're right. And that could be a really big problem for ourselves because a lot of times we will doubt our abilities to do things. And what's really interesting is that if any human ever in history has been able to do it, part of that exists within you because you're human. And I think it's important to recognize that you have this ability to step up and reach your full potential. So again, it's really understanding what are the important things for you. Again, recognizing things that you hesitate or second guess or give up on yourself. You're probably going to be right, and you're not going to achieve the things that you really want to move forward with. So in this scenario, again, you can kind of close your eyes and vision like the way that you want to be, the things that you're really working on, and start to take small steps towards that. So again, visualizing all of that becomes incredibly important because it doesn't become anything new. If you've watched it enough times in your head, you kind of understand like this is the only way that it's going to be. Like you continue to see it until you actually live that part of your life. So give yourself that opportunity to recognize the great things within yourself. So again, visualization is incredibly important. And for the millionth time coming through here, having a growth mindset, all that really means, again, for the millionth time over, is to be, open to criticism without being harsh about it, just kind of accepting what other people can say sometimes and recognize like maybe they are right, right? They're living a completely different life. It doesn't mean that they're absolutely right, but recognizing these things that we want to develop growth within. So again, to recognize things in our own lives that might be rather challenging or difficult, and then approaching those things head on, right? So taking in the case of something like courage, maybe I'm afraid of something and it's really, really difficult for me to overcome something when it comes to fear. If I start to convince myself that I'm a courageous person, sometimes it's more along the lines of like, well, I need to be in the environment where I'm scared so I can learn how my courage should go ahead and grow. That is a growth mindset of maybe you need to go ahead and introduce yourself to these things, or maybe you just need to hear what other people are saying. It doesn't mean you have to go ahead and act on it, right? But if you start to say like, hey, someone recognizes you as not being like a good person, again, I'm just putting it in quotes of whatever insult or whatever you kind of hear it as, you're not good at this or the other thing. It could be just something beneficial to yourself to look at that and go, okay, well, what actions am I taking within myself that it's going to be hard to combat me on that topic anymore? So again, coming back to Jordan, when Jordan was playing, he was told that he's a scorer, he can't play defense, and he went out and made first team all defense multiple years in a row. Phenomenal defender. And they said, well, Jordan can score, but he can't pass. He would go out and just completely, run up his assists and rebounds and basically not shoot as much as he normally would. So he kind of took those things as these really good challenges and expected himself to be great. And a lot of times people who are going to go ahead and criticize you for the things that you're working towards, they say that because they're too scared to go ahead and do that stuff themselves. They're too scared to kind of attack some of their own things within their own life. It does not make them a bad person. It does not mean that you have this chance to go ahead and go back at them for these things. The idea is sometimes people are just scared and they want to think that they know it all. They just want to believe that. And again, they have to go out there and actually do the work to go ahead and prove it. And for the people who go out there and have done the work, like the criticisms that they're offering most likely are going to be, hey, this is where I fell. This is where I faulted. This is where I made mistakes. And I'd rather you make it further than me. So, the ones who are going to go ahead and who have done the work and who are going to work with you, they're probably going to be more supportive and, be aware and look out for those things. Look for those greatness in other people. If they have traits that you're working towards, how do you develop those traits? Right. So again, recognizing your own potential and recognizing that, making mistakes isn't the end of the world. And maybe even recognizing that somebody else said that you made a mistake. Okay. There's actually a Robert Downey Jr. quote when it comes to that section. It's like, listen to like everybody's feedback and then do whatever the hell you want. It's your life. You get to go ahead and choose how these things are. And sometimes it just comes down to like looking yourself in the mirror and giving yourself some kind of affirmation. This is why I have intentions every week. So when I have something that I can sit by myself and think about and reflect on and say, well, am I becoming the person that I expect? And for this week, I expect myself to learn from these things. I expect myself to be great this week. I don't have to be great at everything. I just want to find a few things, right? I've slipped on my own workouts. I haven't been doing them as much. To the great people that I respect, do they skip their workouts? No. Well, how do I go ahead and make time for that? Even if I can't put all the intensity, all the other work in, how do I go ahead and show up for those things to the best of my ability? And I'll go ahead and improve. And I'll kind of look into the mirror and say, okay, this is who I expect of myself this week. This is who I'm going to decide to become. And then it's okay to celebrate your progress along the way, even if it's something really simple. So case in point, I joined up with the Oak Park Runners Group, the Reserved Runners. I actually going to run later on today. So every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. over at Lively in Oak Park. Awesome group. I recommend going running with them. It's going to be a hot one today. Over about a month, I went from 11-minute miles to 9 because I hung out with people who I thought were really great at running. And I learned what I could from them. And I listened to what they were saying with an open mind and an open heart, thinking that, hey, they've done this. Maybe just hear them out. Take a few things, a few cues from them, and see if you can grow from yourself. So that's all I really got for you guys today. Hopefully that's something that helps you out, and understand that you must expect great things of yourself before you do them, right? You'll learn from it. But again, expect yourself to continue to head towards greatness. And on that note,